Do you remember the Y2K scare? Go back to about 1999, and there's this concern that the new year is going to bring a new century. In fact, a new millennium. For the first time, the first number in the 4-digit year is going to change to a 2 instead of the 1 that we've had for, for a century, or excuse me, for a millennium. What's interesting about that is computer systems were primed often for just the last 2 numbers, the last 2 digits of the year. And so the thought of going to 2000, everyone was freaking out thinking, are computers going to think it goes back to 1900? And if things are planned and automated and the computer's supposed to send out things in a supply chain or whatever it might be, is that going to disrupt all these supply chains? Is the world going to come to a crashing halt all because we coded for 2 digits instead of 4? And that Y2K, year 2000 scare was on everybody's mind. And so you picture, everyone's always excited on New Year's Eve to watch the ball drop and the clock move. But that year, everybody seemed to be on edge. And when the ball dropped, and everyone worried that the shoe was about to drop too, nothing happened. It came and went, and it was Y2K, but there was no scare. Everything was fine, a non-issue. Now, if you want a 19th century equivalent of Y2K, think about the Millerites. The Millerites were a group. William Miller was a skeptic, a rationalist, and then a true evangelical Christian who did all kinds of math in the Old and New Testament to try to figure out the timing of the second coming. And guess what he settled on? 1844. He had it down to the date. And with his past rationalism informing his current evangelicalism, he was chomping at the bit for the second coming to occur. And he didn't start his own church, but that Millerite zeal started to spread through all kinds of other churches until people were so excited and overeager for the second coming because we finally have a date and we can be ready for it. Well, that date came and went. And it forced Miller and others to recalibrate. Like, oh, sorry, forgot to carry the 1. Maybe my first date was off, but the math still holds. And they recalibrated, bumped it back a few months, and that's when the Lord is really going to come. People were so convinced that they were selling property, and they were kind of gathering in fields, kind of looking up with eager anticipation, because this is it, this is over. And it wasn't. That day passed as well. And it formed what a moment in history known as the Great Disappointment. Capital G, great, capital D, disappointment. They were devastated. Jesus hadn't come. And they had to recalibrate again. Churches grew out of that movement from that moment on. Adventist kind of thinking of the advent of Christ that was supposed to happen in that moment. Well, Millerism, or that Millerite zeal, was affecting certain Latter-day Saints as well, to the point that Joseph Smith is wondering, when is the second coming going to be? If you look at section 130, verse 14 and 15, you can tell that that topic is on the prophet's mind. He says, I was once praying very earnestly. So he's taking this as seriously as he can. Praying very earnestly to know the time of the coming of the Son of Man. When I heard a voice repeat the following, Joseph, my son, if thou livest until thou art 85 years old, thou shalt see the face of the Son of Man. Therefore, let this suffice, and trouble me no more on this matter. Now, interesting phrases at the end. That's enough for now, Joseph. Trouble me no more suggests that Joseph kept asking. Again, if he's praying very earnestly, everyone else is wondering about this. Again, that Millerite zeal spread like wildfire across America. And so Latter-day Saints wondering, Joseph Smith wondering, and the Lord, stop wondering. In fact, I get a sense that the Lord has a wonderful sense of humor based on this verse. Because when he says, if you live to be 85, you'll see me. And then he stops and says, and that's it. That's all I'm going to tell you. Let that suffice. Quit bugging me about this, Joseph. And where does that leave Joseph? Wait, what's the if? If I live to be 85, am I going to live to be 85? And wait, I'm going to see you? Is that like, is everyone else going to see you? Is this the second coming? Or, I get to see you pretty often. First Vision, Kirtland Temple, you name it. What does that even mean? And in verse 16 and 17, he says, I was left thus without being able to decide whether this coming referred to the beginning of the millennium or to some previous appearing, or, worst one, whether I should die and thus see his face. It's like, are you coming to me or am I coming to you? You were kind of vague in that. And now Joseph concludes, I believe the coming of the Son of Man will not be any sooner than that time. Oh, and it certainly hasn't been. We're still waiting. I hope it's not a great disappointment for us, but we have to be patient with the coming of Christ. Now, in these few verses, I can't help but almost chuckle. And the Lord is probably struggling to keep a straight face too, as he drops this vague hint, yeah, if you're 85, you'll see me. What does that even mean? The second coming, a preliminary coming, me coming to you, and the Lord just kind of zips the lip and smiles and winks with that last word of, let this suffice and trouble me no more. Joseph, I'm not going to tell you. Don't worry about William Miller's math. It's not the issue. Worry about your preparation for the second coming. Whenever that happens. In fact, this is not the first time the Lord has had some fun with someone who is overly concerned about a specific timetable. If you go back to the book of Daniel, chapter 12, this is an apocalyptic book of scripture, especially in these chapters. And Daniel is seeing the end times, the last days, and wondering how long till it happens. So he asks the question. And in Daniel 12, 7 through 9, it says, I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times, and an half. It's like, that's how long it's going to be till the second coming. Time, times, and half a time. That's a phrase that's actually repeated in Revelation and elsewhere. But then he goes on, when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. But then pivot to Daniel, and he just heard this, and what does he say? I heard, but I understood not. Then said I, O my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? It's like, I have no, time times half a time? What the heck does that mean? I have no clue what you're talking about. So please be clear. When shall be the end? And he said, go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. So once again, a vague, cryptic answer that really isn't an answer. And then when you press it, the Lord's like, quit asking me that question. More important than the when of the second coming would be the how of preparing for it. Are you preparing? Are you ready for that moment? Again, because I'm not going to tell you the time of my coming to you, nor the time of your coming to me. Death can come unexpectedly. Will you be ready? And the need, therefore, to be constantly ready. I think that's one of the reasons the Lord does not tell us the day nor time. No man knoweth the day or hour of the Lord's coming. We need to be perpetually prepared so that whenever that day comes, we will be ready and waiting for the coming of Christ, prepared to rejoice in his presence.